Welcome back to Two Bros in a Row. Man, it's been a great weekend. I mean, getting back into football, there's a lot going on that we could talk about. We could talk about, did you guys see like the Phillies Karen?
Yeah.
Oh, we could talk about that. I mean, we could talk about all the NFL games, or we could talk about your Florida Gators getting upset by USF. What do you guys want to talk about?
Let's talk more about the Karen. We don't need to talk about the Gators getting upset. That was inevitable. I even called it on the last episode. You can go back and listen to it. We don't need to talk about something that I already predicted.
It was alluded to that it would be interesting to see the Bulls go 3-0, which means everyone should be the biggest USF fans this week because they're playing the Hurricanes, and I'm not even sure their fans wanna be fans of them at this point.
Everybody on this podcast is very pro Bulls. We've already talked about this prior to starting up this episode, but
We're very bullish.
very bullish on the Bulls. Yeah, how about that Karen though? For those that don't know, there was a home run that was hit by Bader from the Phillies, who went into the left field stands, one row in front of this lady. The gentleman walks over, picks up the ball. Lady doesn't have the ball, turns around, walks back, hands it to his son. Now he took his son to the game because that weekend was his son's birthday. This lady then goes down a row, goes all the way across, and starts yelling at him that he stole that ball from her. He ends up giving her that ball from his own son's mitt, and then she gets berated by everybody that's around her, which is one thing. Like, Philly fans get a lot of bad rap, but it was Philly fans that were berating her for what she did and for everything that she did. But that was mind blowing that she had the balls to walk up to somebody and tell them like to give them the ball.
She had the balls to go get the ball. Yeah, this lady clearly has gotten away with this her whole life. With like, that kind of stuff, to where she just goes and berates people to get her way. And now that everybody has like a mobile video device that can show how horrible of a person you are, she finally got caught in that web and she got. And I'm glad she did because she's a total bitch and she deserves all the trash that's getting thrown at her.
The craziest part about this is the whole essence of taking a kid to a ball game is to make it a special experience. This lady managed, at least for a brief period of time, because good on the Phillies, by the way. They stepped it up big. The player came and signed a bunch of merchandise for him. The organization brought a bunch of PR folks up there, gave him more, a lot more merchandise. So not just a ball. It was like,
No, the Marlins did that. It was a home game for the Marlins, and the Marlins came over and gave him a goodie bag.
yeah, I didn't even realize that. I watched the video. I didn't realize it was a home game, but for the Marlins, but they didn't, he got to meet with the player afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah, he got to meet Harrison Bader. They took him down underneath the tunnel. He actually signed the bat for him, gave him a
Yeah.
bat. So
Okay. Okay. I guess I didn't realize it was good for the Marlins, the Florida Marlins stepping up too. The reality is this completely unacceptable behavior. Like that lady should have been happy to give him the ball. The kid was like a 10-year-old child. Like this is ridiculous. It's again, like you
I'm
both have
telling you,
already mentioned, she deserved.
there's a couple other crazy things a part of that. Like, I don't know if you saw the other angle, but after that all happened, it looked like somebody from the Marlins came down and was talking to him while some Philly fans were kind of berating her. And so she went down and there was a guy wearing a Jalen Hurts jersey and she started yelling at that guy and like yelling at him, then walked back up to the where she was sitting and there was a couple guys yelling at her from above. So she starts yelling. Then she realizes the guy's filming her. She starts flipping that guy off and
I
like,
saw that one.
dude, that's it. What's crazy to me is she was with somebody. It was like her husband or something, but like that, you could tell that guy was so used to it because he didn't move. He just sat there for the entirety of everything that this lady did.
Yeah, I don't really go on Twitter that often, but I did see some extra videos and like tweets and stuff about this. There was one that I saw. Not sure if this is true, but there was a tweet saying that she got fired from her job because a lot of students sent her a bunch of like hate like tweets and stuff like that, and then they weren't welcoming her back. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's pretty ridiculous.
Don't believe it is just because there were so many different places that said that where she was working, tried to say her name and things like that. To be honest, like what she did was shitty and she was being bitchy about it. However, I don't think that's enough to ruin somebody's life. Like they
I
shouldn't.
agree with that. Yeah, no way.
Yeah, I'm not saying she should lose her job. Everyone despite how crappy of a person she is. I mean, it's on blast. I mean, everyone knows it. Everyone, no one's gonna be nice to this lady. No one's gonna go out of their way to help her. But I don't know that her livelihood should be affected by it necessarily.
There might be 2 people that help her, and that's the 2 people from the Coldplay concert, because now nobody's talking about that anymore.
That's true. Maybe it was a plant.
Yeah.
See, you guys forgot about it.
Trust me, I did not forget about that. My family talked a lot about this. This is like all happened when I was up in Ohio in July, and this is like that's all everyone talked about for like what 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, like, those 2 people's lives kinda got ruined just based off of what just happened with them. I mean, it was kinda their own fault to an
Yeah.
extent, but
I mean, like I said, everybody has their own personal video camera in their pocket nowadays. You gotta watch yourself. You gotta watch your ass, man.
I mean, this is the negative side of going viral, and you should think twice about doing something real shitty like this. Like this lady's unhinged just to think that, like you said, her husband or significant other was with her. No reaction. Just duh. This is normal for this lady. Obviously, mensch, you discussed this already. This lady does this probably all the time. She doesn't like it, doesn't get her way, flips off the handle, makes people feel like shit, and then she gets her way and moves on with her life. Like, this is a crappy way to live your life, like,
Now she's finally being held accountable.
yeah, humble pie.
all right. We have a lot that we want to talk about in this episode. We're hoping to get to our fantasy stuff soon. We want to do some recaps of the NFL games that we're gonna try some things that maybe we don't know if it'll work. If it works this week and we like it, we'll kind of continue it maybe future weeks. If we don't, we'll move on. We'll do something different. But I went through and every single one of the NFL games, kind of wrote a recap of all the games. Feel like I'll just go through that and we'll discuss each game. So the first game I'm going to start with is the first game that happened. So it's the Philadelphia Eagles went on to beat the Dallas Cowboys 24-20. Game started oddly. After the opening kickoff, Eagles fullback Ben Summerman was injured and being attended to when Jalen Carter decided to spit on Dak Prescott and get ejected. Because that's what we got to do these days. Because of that, the Eagles defense struggled all game long. They didn't record a single sack. Dak Prescott had a mediocre game. He was 21 to 34 for 188 yards and no touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb had 4 drop balls in the game. That's really unusual for him. And those drop balls were actually crucial towards the end of the game. Lamb finished with 7 receptions for 110 yards. Javonte Williams started the game on fire but tapered off. He had 15 carries for 54 yards and 2 TDs. Cowboys D was missing Micah Parsons as it seemed Hurts had all day long to make decisions. Jalen Hurts was the reason really for the Eagles' success and their win. He was 19 to 23 for 152 yards. He also had 62 yards from 2 TDs rushing. Saquon Barkley had 18 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. Jahan Dotson led the Eagles receiving in yards with 59 of them on 3 catches. A.J. Brown, though, only had 1 target and 1 reception for 8 yards, which is kind of crazy. Next, the 0-1 Cowboys get their home opener against the 0-1 Giants. Second division game in a row for the Cowboys, while the 1-0 Eagles will travel over to Kansas City to play the 0-1 Chiefs in a rematch of last year's Super Bowl. Some things to note is that played over 85% of the snaps in the game. The Cowboys had a total of 6 rushing touchdowns in 2024 and never had more than 1 in a game. On Thursday, Javonte Williams ran for touchdowns on the Cowboys' first 2 drives. And then Jalen Hurts' 4-yard TD run in the first quarter was his first on a scramble since Week 15 in 2023. All 14 of his rushing TDs during the 2024 regular season and all 5 during the postseason came on sneaks, tush pushes, or designed runs. Just to kind of note, the second rushing TD he had on Thursday also came on a scramble.
You know who didn't have a rushing touchdown this weekend was Jared Goff, because guess who was playing against Jared Goff this weekend?
Well, Micah Parsons.
Oh, that's right. It was Micah Parsons. And you know what's interesting? I went back and looked at the fantasy stats for the Cowboys defense over the last couple years. If you go back to last year, they were ranked 14th, I think, depending on which league you use. The 2 previous years before that, or even 3 previous years before that, they were in the top 3 ranked fantasy scoring defenses. Still, that's something relevant. That means they're doing things on the field to show significance. They're getting turnovers, they're getting sacks, they're getting tackles for loss. One player kind of does that. Now, there was a point where they lost Diggs, their cornerback, who is an all-pro cornerback season going. He tore his ACL. That was a big loss for them in that season, and that really affected them. But they still have really good defensive backs on that team. And didn't one of the guys just get hurt? I just saw this, and he might be out for the next couple weeks.
It's possible. I didn't see that, but
I'm pretty sure I saw this. I'll have to look it up when I'm not talking. Still, ultimately, Jalen's able to scramble like that because no one's there to pursue him. No one's there to keep him accountable. It was like you said, he didn't even have a scrambling touchdown last season. It got to go all the way back to 2023.
it's pretty much not an argument that two best positions or two most important positions in football are quarterback number one and defensive end number two. Because when you get pressure on the quarterback, that causes errant throws, that helps your secondary out, that helps your linebackers to cover. Like it legitimately helps everything. When you don't have that, you get what you had on Thursday, which is Jalen Hurts standing back there just picking what he wants to do.
Cowboys suck.
The observations that we even alluded to last week when we talked about this during the game was they put a lot of pressure on both Devonta Smith and AJ Brown as a testament to their target share load, which was virtually nothing. They both did awful from a fantasy perspective, but that's because the game plan for the Cowboys was to shut down their passing offense, which they subsequently did. But the weirdest part was that's not even ultimately the strength of their offense. It's running. You think they would probably hinge on that. I think they were too embarrassed to get gashed down the field. So they just sold out and said, maybe we'll beat you with Dak's arm.
They do get pass happy from time to time. You know, a couple of years ago, I felt like that's all Dak did was just drop back and throw. And that's when they had Tony Pollard, and Tony Pollard's not a bad back. So
No, that was back when Tony Pollard was splitting time with Zeke, and they actually had a really good duo there. And this, statistically speaking, Tony Pollard at the time, he's a little bit older now, but at the time did better with less touches because he was getting the ball in space more. Now he's on a worse offense with a different offensive coordinator, and it's just not going to be the same type of player. He's going to be asked to do different things.
I mean, I could talk about the Eagles, especially talk about Cowboys losing all day long, but we'll move on to the Los Angeles Chargers, who defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 27-21 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, because for whatever reason, we're playing games in Brazil. Chiefs defense was pretty much non-existent in this game. The Chargers diced up the defense to the tune of 394 yards. We were told the Chargers had wide receiver issues with Mike Williams retiring and losing Joshua Palmer. We're wondering who can help Lad McConkey out. Well, they drafted Trey Harris, but he didn't really do much. But we found out Quentin Johnston and bringing back a 33-year-old Keenan Allen might have been all they needed to shore up that wide receiver room. Quentin Johnston led the team in receiving with 79 yards on 5 catches and added 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen had 7 catches for 68 yards and a TD, while Justin Herbert was 25 of 34 for 318 and 3 TDs. He was very impressive. Omarion Hampton had 15 carries for 48 yards. To make things worse for Kansas City, Xavier Worthy suffered a dislocated shoulder by colliding with Taylor Swift's fiance. Sounds like they'll be without Worthy for a little while, and they're also obviously already without Rashee Rice for the next 5 games. Patrick Mahomes was 24-39 for 258 yards and a passing TD. He also led the team in rushing, which is never good, with 57 yards and a rushing TD to boot. Hollywood Brown had 10 receptions for 99 yards, and he's probably a big pickup in a lot of people's leagues this week. Next week, the 0-1 Chiefs will have their home opener against the 1-0 Philadelphia Eagles, and then the Los Angeles Chargers will be on the road on Monday night against the 1-0 Las Vegas Raiders. Couple of things to add. Friday night's win, Jim Harbaugh improved his Week 1 record to 6-0 as an NFL head coach, tying for the most Week 1 wins without a loss in NFL history. And then with all that, something that you guys might like being Raider fans, since everybody in the AFC West has won, the Chiefs are in last place.
Right. They suck.
Pretty uncommon. Google AI informed me that I was wrong. I don't know why I had Darby on my mind. Maybe it was just the Eagles thing. Deron Bland is the guy that's hurt.
Bland, yes, okay, yeah.
My mistake, but I was not wrong about it being a Cowboys defensive back who's actually a pretty pivotal defensive back. Now we'll move on to this. Yes. We're going to the game this week. It's going to be great. It's really exciting to go early on in the season because there's still some shred of hope that your team might actually be good. And we're coming off a 1-0 victory against none other than the New England Patriots. A good win to have, a good one to be going into the next game with the division rival in the Chargers. So you're got to be excited there, Steve, aren't you, about going to this game?
Yeah, it should be good. It'll be good to actually watch a good team at that stadium for a change in the Chargers when they beat the fuck out of us. Justin Herbert, it'll be really good to watch a really good quarterback in Justin Herbert. And it'll be really good to see the GOAT, Keenan Allen. Steve's right. All they did have to do is bring in Keenan Allen because that guy is the man, still hanging around, and he is like the Frank Gore of wide receivers. He just keeps coming.
Frank Gore didn't get that injured as often as Keenan Allen does.
You hold your tongue, sir.
I reserve that one for Mike Evans. I think he's more cognizantly appropriate for that.
You think Keenan Allen has only gotten injured in like 2 seasons. He's played most of his games. If you go look on Sleeper, it shows that he's played like 13 to 16 games like every single one of his seasons except for the one where he like, where Ryan drafted him and ruined his entire season. But most of the time he plays like all of his games. He's actually pretty consistent wide receiver.
He's a good wide receiver. He had actually a couple drops in that game too
Yeah.
against Kansas City.
Very uncharacteristic for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he clearly has a connection with Justin Herbert too. Like you could tell Herbert loved having him back. Herbert is like the prettiest passer in the NFL. He throws the most beautiful ball in the entire world. Like every time he throws it, it's just so smooth. And that'll be enjoyable to watch as they beat us like 48 to, 23 or something like that.
As far as the game in Brazil that we almost completely overlooked here, yeah, the Chiefs, they don't look very good right now, and there's a lot of injuries. Kelsey is almost an afterthought in that offense. It's kind of wild considering how great he was as short as what, 2 years ago? Like last year he had a big steep drop off, and this year looks even worse. And apparently he's pretty frustrated with it because he deemed one of his teammates not worthy to play on the same field as them.
Yeah, we'll cut that. Steve, cut that.
Blasted him. Now he's got a dislocated shoulder. Gonna be, I don't know. We'll see. I don't. Who are they gonna even throw the ball to? I know that there's a couple.
Hollywood Brown.
No, that guy's gonna get hurt in like 5 minutes. Again, that got hurt just listening to the game plan. That's how injury prone that guy is.
The Chiefs need a number one receiver in the worst way. And they have a very good option sitting in Miami who's very upset with his team right now. And that would be the only time I'd be interested in Tyreek Hill is if he goes back to Kansas City. Or if they find a way to trade for somebody else. But I mean, he seems like the most obvious option right now. Kevin called Brian Robinson. I'll call Tyreek Hill right now. And it makes the most sense, honestly.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. And we'll talk Tyreek Hill when we get down to the Miami Dolphins. But we'll move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who went into Atlanta and defeated the Falcons 23-20. Atlanta's defense was impressive on Sunday. They held Tampa's offense to 192 yards through 3 quarters, allowed just one score of more than 52 yards. They had a 40.5% pressure rate and only missed 4 tackles the entire game. This game did see 3 missed kick attempts, 2 by Chase McLaughlin, 1 on a 59-yard field goal and 1 on a missed extra point, and then 1 missed kick by Young Ho Koo. Young Ho, such a great name. Young Ho had a chance to tie the game at the end of the regulation, but that 44-yard field goal that he missed to seal the victory for the Buccaneers. Tampa was led by Baker Mayfield, who was 17-34 for 167 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also added 39 yards rushing to lead the team. Bucky Irvin had 14 carries for only 37 yards and added 4 catches for 8 yards and a receiving touchdown. Emeka Ibuku had 4 receptions for 67 yards and 2 TDs. He looks pretty special. For the Falcons, Michael Penix Jr. was 27-42 for 298 yards and 1 touchdown. He also added 21 yards rushing and a rushing TD. Bijan Robinson had 12 carries for 24 yards. Not very impressive on the ground, but he had 6 receptions for 100 yards and a receiving TD. Next week, the 1-0 Buccaneers will head to Houston to take on the 0-1 Texans, while the 0-1 Falcons look to get their first win of the season as they head to Minnesota to take on the 1-0 Vikings. The Falcons scored a TD on their opening drive of the season. The last time the Falcons scored a touchdown on the first drive of a season was in 2012. The Falcons drew 3 roughing the passer penalties all last season. They drew 2 during the 18-play scoring drive in the fourth quarter alone. And then Mayfield threw 144 gross passing yards on the day, 95 of which came in the second half, and 50 of which came on the Bucs' last touchdown drive.
Would they switch to prevent defense?
I guess so.
Isn't that interesting that they just all of a sudden in the fourth quarter just forgot how to play defense?
That's a lot of teams throughout week 1.
The WWNFL, Kev, they're like, make it close, keep it close. We got those betting lines we got to make.
It's hard to not feel that way sometimes because there are many instances you're like, this makes no sense. We'll get there, but watching that game, the Bears Vikings game on Monday night, Man, that could not have felt any closer to the truth. Watching it like by 1 inch for Caleb, coming in and then, oh no, we need to have a passing touchdown to Roma Dunze, where it's like just some type of betting line, player prop stuff had to be set up perfectly. It just seemed too perfect.
Well, a lot of people lost on that Debo Samuel fumble. Not Debo Samuel, about DJ Moore fumble on the last play of that game, including Blake. Oh, wah, 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 wah. Sorry about it, Blake.
That was the result of defensive points, or was it a result of DJ Moore losing points?
I don't know. I remember Blake just saying, "Oh man, I took the lead," and then he fumbled, and then Mr. Travis took me. So I'm not sure if it was because he was rooting for their defense. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But I heard a lot of other people. There's another in my other league, my work league, Kev, the one you were in last year. One dude was winning by 1 point, and then he had DJ Moore, and then DJ Moore fumbled, and he ended up losing by 1 point.
Brutal. Been
That
there.
does suck.
We've all been there.
All right, we'll move on to the Cincinnati Bengals, who came away with the victory against the Cleveland Browns, 17-16. Bengals finally got a Week 1 victory, and it was really their defense that won the game. Bengals offense was 6 of 7 on third down conversions in the first half. That same Bengals offense then went 3 and out 6 of the 7 possessions they had in the second half. Cincinnati could only muster up 7 total yards in offense in the second half. For the game, Joe Burrow was 14-23 for 113 yards and a touchdown. Chase Brown had 21 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins led all Bengals receivers with 33 yards on 3 catches. Jamar Chase was held in check to only 2 receptions on 26 yards. Browns kicker Andre Schmidt had a missed extra point after this Tillman touchdown in the second half. That ended up being a huge turning point because that was the 1 point that they needed. Well, they ended up losing by. Flacco then threw an interception, giving the Bengals good field position and ultimately resulted in the 3 points, giving the Bengals the 17-16 win. Flacco played well. Drops from several wide receivers and 2 INTs, neither of which were his fault. Both came on deflections from his receivers. Joe Flacco was 31 of 45 for 290 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 INTs. Again, both not his fault. Dylan Sampson had 12 carries, 29 yards, and added 8 catches for 64 yards. Jerry Jeudy led Browns receivers with 66 yards and 5 catches. Joe Burrow never won in Week 2 in his career. So he looks to change that next week when he takes on the 1-0 Jaguars. On the other side, the 0-1 Browns will take the trip to Baltimore to play the 0-1 Ravens. And then some notes from the game. The Bengals had a 1-5 record in Week 1 in the last 6 seasons until Sunday. And during the Joe Burrow era, the Bengals have been 1-4 also up until Sunday. The Browns held the Bengals to 7 yards in the entire second half and still lost. That is the fewest yards in a second half by a winning team in the last 25 years. And then the Bengals had 141 total net yards of offense, their second lowest output in the win in franchise history.
I don't know why the Bengals are allergic to the first couple weeks of the season, but they seem to just do this every year where they come out flat, underperform. We need to just start counting on it. The thing that was weird, though, is that their defense actually held them in this game. But the biggest thing is the Browns are the Browns, and the Browns do the things that the Browns do. And they couldn't even win a game that the Bengals were just giving them. It's one of the most Browns start to a season. Joe Flacco, by the way, would have had a good line if you add those 4 points back into his fantasy score. That's 18, plus any other yardage or possible touchdowns that he would have got. You easily would have got over 20. So I think he's actually going to be another good sneaky play this week against the Ravens. But yeah, the Browns suck. They always suck. They've always sucked. They always will suck. They will continue sucking for the rest of the NFL lifetime. This is what they do. Sorry, Cleveland fans. Just what it is.
This game was so disappointing on multiple factors. A, we were all expecting kind of a shootout, right? The Browns haven't been the greatest, sure, but they've actually showed promise with offensive production in this type of situation. They did with Jameis Winston, they did with Joe Flacco. The 2 receivers that are consistent there, they have a really promising looking rookie tight end to Harold Fannin, which goes in combo with David Njoku. And I mean, they got a pretty decent on paper squad, right? And now it sounds like Judkins, their running back that they drafted in the first round or second round, is finally going to join the team and stop being a menace.
Yeah, he beat the Chargers.
But it's crazy. Like when I was going back and rewatching these games, this one stood out to me as probably the biggest failure. How far was that field goal that their kicker missed? They won. They had the game. It was like a 30-yard field goal, wasn't it?
It was a 36-yard field goal, 2:22 left.
That's like Norwood in the Super Bowl again. Except this was not the Super Bowl, not even close to the same thing. The Browns wouldn't even have a fucking clue what the Super Bowl looks like.
No, this is the Browns Super Bowl, a regular season win against a divisional opponent. That's basically their Super Bowl.
I feel bad trashing the Browns, but it's just so easy. Actually, I don't really feel bad about it. But so the Bengals, though, gosh, Steve nailed it. This is just ugly. Like, how do they? It's so consistent. Yeah, I was the dummy that went out and drafted Joe Burrow and Chase Brown, thinking there's going to be some offensive juggernaut, and they both just torpedoed my team. I mean, in multiple leagues, good enough to me to guillotine. And one of them, I'm the first team eliminated, thankfully. Done with that turd.
Yes, we all appreciate your donation of your players to everybody else this past week. I myself got Brian Thomas Jr. from Kevin. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Another guy that sucked it up.
All right, let's move on. We'll go to the Indianapolis Colts. Surprised a lot of people by beating the Miami Dolphins 33-8. The Colts were really firing on all cylinders for that game. They had the offense and defense going. Daniel Jones showed that he was the right pick over Anthony Richardson, if that says anything.
Anybody is.
Jones was 22-29 for 272 yards and 1 TD. He also had 7 carries for 26 yards and 2 rushing TDs. Both of his rushing TDs were quarterback sneaks from the 1-yard line. Jonathan Taylor had 18 carries for 71 yards. Michael Pittman Jr. had 6 receptions for 80 yards and a TD. And then the rookie tight end Tyler Warren led the Colts in receptions with 7 for 76 yards. Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo used a variety of blitzes on Sunday, going with a more aggressive approach, something the Colts will rarely use, especially under former defensive coordinator Gus Bradley. The approach held the Colts defense hold Miami to 211 total yards. They had 3 sacks and 2 interceptions. The Dolphins didn't eclipse 100 total yards until 39 minutes into regulation, which by that time they were already down 23-0. Tua Tagovailoa was 14 of 23 for 114 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 INTs. Tua was really running for his life the entirety of that game. He didn't log a single completion under pressure and threw each of his 2 interceptions on plays with no pressure. Devon Achane had 7 carries for 44 yards, and Tyreek Hill led the Dolphins receiving yards with 40 on 4 catches. He also led the team on domestic violence claims against him that week, too.
8.
The 0-1 Dolphins head home and welcome the 0-1 New England Patriots next week, while the 1-0 Colts head to Denver to take on the 1-0 Broncos. This is the Colts' first Week 1 win since 2013. Daniel Jones is just the 5th quarterback since 1950 with 250-plus passing yards and 2-plus rushing TDs in the first game of the season. And then the Colts are the first team to score on every possession in a game since 1977.
Jeez.
So the Colts win this game, and then they go to the depths of history to find some ridiculously unnecessary stat to try and make Daniel Jones look like he's actually a good quarterback. Listen, one game will not do it. Anthony Richardson, he's really good at showing us that one game in college got him to be drafted in the top 5 at the NFL. Literally not gonna believe it until I see it on a repetitive scale. They're playing a really good defense this week. I have Daniel Jones in our Superflex league. He is going to remain on that bench. There's no way in hell I'm playing him. There's no way. It just needs to be seen on a more complete scale. With that being said, the Colts really did surprise a lot of people. The Dolphins also did, because I didn't think it was possible for them to be any worse than they were last year. But wow, they looked like straight trash. Horrible. Deplorable. I mean, their coach has got to be on the hot seat at this point. They cannot put it together. It is really bad.
For a team that put up 70 points last year,
Mhm.
it's still this stat I like above all the other stats. The Dolphins didn't eclipse 100 total yards until 39 minutes into regulation when they were down 23-0.
2 years ago, right? Though the 70
Years
points.
ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
It was against the
Yeah.
Broncos.
Yeah, it was against the Broncos. For whatever reason, I thought it was last year.
Last year, Tua was out with concussion, like, for most of the season. They were starting, like, Skylar Thompson and some other.
Yeah. Their down spiral started last year. 2 years ago is when they were, like, blowing up and taking over, but they couldn't beat a team with a winning record, and then they lost in the playoffs right away.
Yeah, well, even if I said, hey, two years ago, they have pretty much the same team from 2 years ago now, you wouldn't think the turnaround would be like it is, how much they fell off that cliff.
Yeah.
You know what happened was they got rid of Raheem Mostert, and then that offense just went absolutely sour.
Yeah, that's what it was. One of the, Colts defenders, I forgot his name. He's one of the DBs, said they were just trying to take away, Tua's first read because he knows that if you take away Tua's first read, he panics and he just doesn't know how to go through his progressions, and it showed that they
That
knew
was
what they were
Xavier
talking.
Howard, who played for
Thank
the
you,
Dolphins
Xavier
last year.
Howard. Yes, yes. He was talking about that, and, like, he's like, "Yeah, we were just trying to take away his, first read, and totally worked." I think this game was more helpful to me that I found the team I'm gonna pick on all year. It was gonna be like in fantasy, you find the worst team and you pick up the defense against that team. I was going against the Saints or maybe the Panthers all year. Now I want to go against the the Dolphins because they look incredibly horrible. Like that whole franchise is a dumpster fire. And I don't know if you guys even remember this, but it was like a month and a half ago. We were texting about the Dolphins, and I even sent it to you guys right away saying Tyreek Hill gets traded, Dolphins go under 500, and McDaniel gets fired within the season. And all of that is almost coming to fruition within the first week of the season.
It's crazy. Like, and even the way that McDaniel talked about it after, he didn't sound like a guy that like had answers. It's gonna be a long year, I think, for Miami fans. It's gonna be a very long year for them.
Looks like somebody else needed to put their phone in the freezer this week.
Yeah, I guess so. There he is.
Don't worry, Kev. You didn't miss anything. We were just talking about how the Dolphins suck ass like they always do.
Yeah. Interesting mensch. You had some faith in Tua at least this year, I would say, because you did decide to take him as pretty much your QB1 in our fantasy superflex league.
I was taking the bottom of the barrel at that point. I just said, this guy seems serviceable at this point. He's getting benched probably this week, so it doesn't
So
even matter.
here's an interesting stat. Tua put up 6.3 points this week in
Yeah, that
fantasy,
was fun.
which, from a quarterback is awful. Okay. Don't worry. There's been way worse scores than that. I'm pretty sure Mensch also was able to have a Cutler years and years ago who threw an interception and got hurt on the same play and ended the game with negative 1.5 points or something like that.
He fumbled, and I was on the flight back from Frankfurt, Germany, and that was the one play I got to see while we were taking off. That was fun. Thank you for that.
A little bit trip down memory lane. So, anyways, here's a couple names in the tier of Tua, despite how bad he played. Here's the closest names with him, fantasy point wise. Okay. Bo Nix, 7.8 points. CJ Stroud, 8.7 points. Dak Prescott, 8.8 points. Bryce Young, 9.2 points. And to keep it in the single digits, rounding out the turd-tastic bunch here, Joe Burrow at 9.8 points. Come on, man.
Well, it's kind of bad when Kevin named two of my starting quarterbacks on my Superflex league in there. And yet I still got the victory. Thank you, Christian McCaffrey. We're good to go. Still good to go. That's why I drafted the way I did. I don't need quarterbacks in that league.
All right. Seeing just how long these are kind of running, I'm just gonna go through a couple at a
Real
time.
quick.
Yeah, I'm just doing much quicker. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars won their home opener against the Carolina Panthers 26-10. Just kind of give you a little bit of stats behind it. Rookie, so since we talked about this last week, rookie Travis Hunter played 39 offensive plays. That's 62% playing time. He was aligned in the slot 59% of those snaps. He had 6 receptions on 8 targets for 33 yards. On defense, Hunter played only 6 snaps. That's 10% of the time. All aligned at left cornerback. He was targeted only once, allowing a 12-yard reception against fellow first-rounder Tedero McMillan. We'll advance on. We'll go to what other games sucked that we don't need to talk about much. Arizona Cardinals went into New Orleans and they left with the W. They didn't have to eat it though, so that's good. But it was 20-13.
Only Jameis can do that.
J-Mo, baby.
Kyler Murray targeted pass catchers behind the line of scrimmage on 31% of his pass attempts, completing all 9 behind the line of scrimmage for 20 yards. Murray had his 21st career game with 2+ passing touchdowns and 100+ passer rating, tying Hall of Famer Kurt Warner for third most in Cardinals franchise history. Let's see what else. The Broncos at home defeated the Tennessee Titans 20-12.
That game was way too close for how good the Broncos really should be and how terrible the Titans pretty much are, and they
Yeah.
showed it.
Broncos offense struggled, but their defense held them in the game and won it for them.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah,
Summed it up.
Kinda. I mean,
Well,
so Bo Nix was a little. We kind of talked off the podcast about this, but Bo Nix was a little too confident on the way that he was passing. But he was only 25 of 40, so it wasn't impressive at all. Their run game was pretty impressive. R.J. Harvey had 70 yards. J.K. Dobbins had 63 yards and a touchdown. So I mean, their run game came up, but it was what it is always for the Broncos. It's their defense. Speaking of that, 6 Bronco defenders recorded a sack Sunday, tying for the second most in franchise history. Pat Surtain II allowed 0 receptions on his 34 coverage snaps, a feat he has accomplished 8 times in his career. Nick Bonito generated a career high 9 pressures on 22 pass rushes, including 5 quick pressures, which a quick pressure is a pressure within under 2.5 seconds.
Surtain
quick.
has just shown why he's the reigning defensive player of the year. The dude is amazing. There's no
Denver's
doubt about it.
defense is good. That whole division is loaded with the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Chargers. I don't know who to pick for it, but honestly, Chargers look like the best right now.
Currently, yes, but even the Raiders shocked me as a fan because you always expect them to be terrible because that's
Yeah,
what
we
we
can get
got
to that
for
game.
like 30 years. They put up like close to 400 yards of total offense, I think, against the Patriots, who have a very defensive minded team. I didn't know the exact number. I'm just kind of rounding up, but
You want to talk about that game?
yeah, so we can
Yeah.
talk.
I've tried to look up the stat the last time the Raiders won in Foxborough. Couldn't find it, but in my mind, I think it's around like 2001 or 2000. We haven't beat the Patriots in New England in a very long time, so that was a nice little win for us.
Pre-Tuck rule, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I'll go through the whole recap for you guys just because it's
All right, let's do it.
your new look Las Vegas Raiders going to New England and come out with a win. They beat the Patriots 20-13. So the new look Raiders because they have a new head coach in Pete Carroll, a new offense coordinator Chip Kelly, a new running back in Ashton Jeanty, and a new quarterback in Geno Smith. Geno Smith looked comfortable and he was in control of Chip Kelly's offense. Geno Smith was 24-34 for 362 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ashton Jeanty is a new big play weapon for the Raiders, although kind of didn't look it, but he's the highest drafted running back since Saquon Barkley in 2018. Jeanty had 19 carries for 28 yards and a TD. All-world tight end Brock Bowers had 5 receptions for 103 yards before leaving the game in the third quarter with a knee injury. Jacoby
Wah,
Myers,
wah.
yeah, that's a very wah-wah. Jacoby Myers added 8 catches for 97 yards. The big play in the game was for the Raiders that helped them eventually clinch the win was a third down conversion on a 3rd and 20 play with 3:15 to play in the game. This allowed them to run another minute and a half off of it and cost the Patriots their timeouts. Drake May had a decent game. He was 30 of 46 for 287 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Your boy Travion Henderson only had 5 carries for 27 yards, was not really impressive.
Another womp womp.
Keyshawn Boutte led the way in receiving with 6 catches for 103 yards. The 1-0 Raiders have their first home game of the season that these boys will be at on Monday Night Football against the AFC West rival 1-0 Los Angeles Chargers. The 0-1 Patriots will be heading to South Beach, then turning around and heading back up north to Miami Gardens because that's where they play. And that's the 0-1 Miami Dolphins. Geno Smith was 24 of 34 for 362 yards, the most passing yards in a Raiders quarterback debut, breaking the mark set by Dan Pastrioni in 1980. That was 317 that Pastrioni had. And with that win, Pete Carroll became the first head coach in NFL history to win debut games with 4 different franchises: Jets, Patriots, Seahawks, and Raiders.
Damn, I didn't know you took out Pastrioni. Holy cow. Dude, that's a big record going down there. Everybody knows about good old Dan Pastrioni. Actually, Gino did look a lot better than I thought he would. So I was actually really happy with that. And then Michael Mayer was actually another surprise to me. He looked really good too. It's nice. It's nice to see the Raiders going in a good direction
It
for the
is.
first time in 20 years.
I liked Mayer when they drafted him.
Yeah.
And the last regime didn't want to use him, and then when they drafted Bowers, there was a ton of trade rumors, but he also had some off the field, like, I think it was mental health stuff, I don't know, it was really not well publicized, which is probably a good thing. But he seems to be fitting in nicely here, and it goes along with the idea of running 2 tight end sets. It sounds like Bowers' injury is hopefully minor, and that's kind of what he's brushed it off as. I mean, I hope it is since he's on my fantasy team, and, I'd really like to see him play this week. I'm sure Mensch would too. I don't know, maybe it'll be a good game, obviously, my expectations are akin to, Steve's because we've seen the Raiders in person several times, and each time they are really good at disappointing us. I think we saw him win one time though, didn't we, against the
Yeah.
Broncos?
Steve was with us.
That's right, that was back in 22, October 22.
The only win I got to see the Raiders have in person.
Denver Broncos.
Yeah, that was when Javonte Williams tore his ACL and multiple other ligaments in his knee.
And Russell Wilson's first game as well, no, not his first game, but that was the first time we played Russell Wilson as the Raiders and Mr. Unlimited Diarrhea. He did bring the diarrhea that day.
The just touching on Henderson, Travion Henderson, can't just help but feel like it's just a matter of time. It's almost like they want him to get acclimated to the game speed. They don't want him to get hurt, trying to do too much too fast. That's the vibe I'm getting by them forcing Ramondre Stevenson into the game still, because the better player is clearly Henderson. I mean, they didn't go out and get him as early as they did in the draft not to use him.
Well, I'll tell you right now, matter of time is going to be this week because they're playing the worst franchise in the NFL right now. That's my Miami Dolphins, and that's a get right game for any player. And I guarantee it. I will guarantee it. Travion Henderson scores a touchdown this week, and he outperforms Ramondre Stevenson. You can put that in pencil just in case I need to erase it. Because if there's one thing I'm good at, it's backing out.
Patriots only rushed the ball 18 times, but they threw it 46. And they were in control, not the control of the game, but they were in the lead for the majority of the game.
Yeah, it's interesting. The things that you wouldn't expect, historically speaking, from Mike Vrabel offense, even though he's a more of a defensive-minded guy, but when he was with the Titans for many years, that was the Derrick Henry, ground and pound days, and he does like to establish the run, and his defenses are usually quite good and disciplined. And so giving up a lead like that seems uncharacteristic for a coach like that. It just doesn't fit the narrative that everyone spins off when he gets hired there. So it's kind of interesting. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, 100% a get right game. The Dolphins, at this rate, if they win a couple of games, it'll be maybe too many.
Listen, when you see the oldest geriatric fuck in the NFL as a head coach in Pete Carroll standing across that sideline, there's some experience over there, and you quake in your boots. You watch out.
He also has the most energy out of any head coach.
I know.
Dan Campbell, I think, is
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, Dan Campbell and then probably Pete Carroll.
I don't know. I think Pete Carroll has more energy. I don't see Dan Campbell running down the sideline like Pete Carroll does.
He's probably like bench pressing players at halftime.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Like I said, cocaine's a hell of a drug. All right.
So we could talk about the Steelers outlasting the New York Jets in what may have been, that probably was the game of the day. I mean, it was the most exciting game, but it was 34-32. That was the first time in NFL history that quarterbacks in week one on both sides faced teams for which they started the season opener the previous year. Also, Aaron Rodgers tied Tom Brady for the most career games with 4+ passing touchdowns and no interceptions with 28 games.
One more. Get one more.
One more he passes him.
We got to get one more. Somebody break one of his stupid records.
Irrelevant.
Jaden Daniels and the Commanders bested the Giants. 21-6 is what they beat them. That wasn't a very impressive game. I don't know if you guys watched the highlights to it. Not much to it. Let's see. What do I have? Russell Wilson was 2 of 12 for 26 yards with 2 sacks when under pressure. Russell was 0 for 5 with a sack in the first half alone. Jaden Daniels' passer rating against the blitz last year was the highest mark for any rookie quarterback since 2018. On Sunday, Daniels was 3 of 9 for 29 yards against the blitz, which was the lowest single game passer rating against the blitz in his career. Terry McLaurin needs 87 yards to pass Hall of Famer Bobby Mitchell for fifth most receiving yards in Washington franchise history. Let's see what else. Did we talk about San Francisco? 49ers beat the Seahawks 17-13, and they have a lot of injuries. I mean, that's pretty much all I got to say about that.
It's a miracle that, I mean, well, I wouldn't say a miracle, but it's very, very strange that everyone on that team is injured except for Christian McCaffrey. Blows my mind. Doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. It's like he spread his injury throughout the entire team. He's like passing his injury to everybody else.
I mean, yeah, George Kittle has a hamstring injury, so he's not on the IR. They won't have him for 4 games. Juwan Jennings now has a shoulder injury. He's day-to-day. They don't know if he'll play. Brock Purdy is considered a long shot to play in week 2 and actually might be out for several weeks. McCaffrey actually is still dealing with the calf injury that they're talking about. And then Jake Moody missed 2 or 3 field goals. I think he was 1 for 3 in field goals. So they cut him. And then they signed Eddie Pinheiro? I think that's who they signed.
Whoa, hell yeah. Florida Gator, great.
Gator.
We got something.
So a couple things to circle back to the Jets game. I'm sure a lot of people are going to think Justin Fields is doing great because it looks like it on paper. But he started the season off for the Steelers last year, and they won, their first 4 of the 5 games that he started?
I want to say he won the first 3, but he was 4-2 overall as a starter for them.
Yeah, it was like impressive looking, but then it just doesn't work out. The guy cannot actually sustain a real offense. And we'll see. It's interesting because the Steelers are historically a very respectable defense. And so maybe I'm wrong,
I
but
don't know. This seems different. I think I heard a stat. Justin Fields didn't have any off target throws, which actually is kind of impressive for any quarterback. I bet he had less off target throws than your boy Joe Burrow there.
a lot of people do.
Justin Fields, I think, just finally found like a coaching staff that believes in him. He's got his boy Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Like he seems like he's playing with confidence. I think it's the opposite. I think he actually is going to have a good season. Probably why I overspent fab on him after cutting him. But you learn from your mistakes.
I think, though, really, in this situation, you are more likely to be right. It's just hard to forget the past with this guy. He's shown glimpses of hope many times. Did it in Chicago. He did it for the Steelers. This guy is in the same ballpark as Daniel Jones to me until it's proven otherwise. It would actually probably be good to see him do well since I feel like I've trashed this guy ever since he was drafted.
It could be a weird year where we have Justin Fields and Daniel Jones both playing well, and that would be really weird.
It would be strange. 100%.
Yeah.
Wouldn't call him. I could call maybe one of them, but not both of them.
Yeah, I agree.
So
But if both of them happen, I don't know what I'm going to think. I'm going to throw another stat out there, too. This goes back to the Seahawks and 49ers game. Christian McCaffrey had his 31st game with 50-plus rushing yards and 50-plus receiving yards. That's the second most in NFL history behind Marshall Faulk, who had 41. No other player has 25-plus such games in their career. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
the dude really good when he's not injured. He's really good.
But it's also crazy to think how good Marshall Faulk was.
Dude, Marshall Faulk was incredible.
greatest show on turf. So also just shout out to the Steelers. My wife, Kayla, and her family, they're, with the exception of her older sister, are all Steelers fans. There's 2 unfortunate Brown fans on that side of my family. And sorry, you chose that. You had that chance to change that multiple times now.
You still do.
You can
Wait,
still change it.
Kev, now I think about it, we're the 2 dumb ass
Yep.
Raider fans
Yep.
in a family of Bill fans.
Well, the difference is I love the Bills too, and I would cheer for the Bills. The Browns fans do not like the Steelers fans. It's a divisional rival. It's totally different.
Mm-hmm. True.
All right. We'll move on. I'll just do a couple more just so we can get this kind of more or less over with. But the Green Bay Packers started their season off with a quality win against the Detroit Lions, 27-13. The only thing I'll add for that game is Josh Jacobs scored in his 10th straight game a rushing touchdown, including the playoffs, becoming the 11th player since 1970 to score a rushing TD in double-digit straight games. The only other player to do it in the past 20 years was Colts Jonathan Taylor in 2021.
In 20 years?
No, since 2021. He's the
I thought Christian
yeah.
McCaffrey had
The
that
only other
stretch of, like,
player,
18 games.
to do it in the last 20 years is Colts Jonathan Taylor. We're talking rushing touchdowns, not receiving.
Oh, okay, yeah, because
I was gonna
McCaffrey had
say.
just a touchdown. Gotcha.
Well, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
but Damian Tomlinson, there's no way that dude was scoring a touchdown.
And that was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was.
Really,
It was like
20 years?
04.
Dang, I'm old.
04 was the year that Tomlinson broke that record, I believe. Was it right around there? I think something like that. Because, right, remember they went 14-2 and lost to the Patriots in the divisional round.
Now that you say that out loud, it sounds really crappy.
The Rams defeated the Houston Texans 14-9. The only thing to really add on that one is Matthew Stafford tied Matt Ryan in 233 games as the second fastest to reach 60,000 yards in NFL history. The fastest was Drew Brees in 215 games. The Bills had an epic comeback in the fourth quarter and defeated the Baltimore Ravens 41-40 on Sunday Night Football, although most of the Bills Mafia wasn't there to see it because they decided to leave, but they're supposedly the best fan base. Yeah, doesn't seem like it.
You're right. The Eagles have never done something like that before.
Leave in a game that they have a chance of coming back in? I don't think so.
Down 15 with 3. What was the odds of them winning that game?
It was at no,
It's
yeah,
like
it was at
0.1%.
no, it's 1 percent when I looked up the actual thing.
No,
But yeah,
the chart I saw was the Ravens were at 99.8% chance of winning the game.
the Ravens were at 98%, so it was 97.9% win probability with 3:10 left in the game.
I mean,
Yeah, you're right. They had a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. There's a chance.
So the Bills haven't erased a 15-point fourth quarter deficit since 1967. They obviously just did that now. See, Sunday night, Josh Allen led his 11th game-winning drive, including playoffs, since 2022. That puts him third behind Patrick Mahomes, who has 18, and Geno Smith with 12. Your boy.
Go, baby.
I would have never guessed that one. Now, on to my favorite stat that I researched and ended up finding out. Going into Sunday night's game, this would be the 10th season for NFL running back Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was only 701 yards away from matching career high school stats. Yeah, 11,423 yards in the
I saw
NFL,
this too.
and he had 12,124 in high school. He rushed for 169 yards, so he's
Yeah.
officially 532 yards away from tying his high school stats. Henry has 6 years over 1,000 yards and is one of 8 guys that has a season over 2,000 yards. Derrick Henry's high school stats were 12,124 yards and 153 TDs. His senior year, he rushed for 4,261 yards and 55 touchdowns. He has the national single game rushing records to this day with 510 yards in a game.
Jesus Christ.
wow, that is incredible.
4 years, he put up 12,124 yards.
It's still clear that the Ravens are hands down one of the best teams in the National Football League. A game like that does not define your season. In fact, sometimes it fortifies your season. And they started off like this in a similar essence last year. It's a great win for the Bills. It teaches them a lot of adversity and how to fight through challenges like this. They know they can come back, and that will pay dividends coming into future games, but especially once they get to the playoffs, because they're going to have to leverage this and remember that they can do it. The Ravens, though, it does hurt when you have a guy of that caliber, Derrick Henry, in such a prominent rushing offense, fumble the ball in a critical time of the game to then let that team score and get you right back into it. They almost blew it by missing the 2-point conversion, but they still got back in the game and ended up winning it on the foot of their kicker, who's been on the hot seat for many years at this point, Tyler Bass.
Tyler Bass didn't play, bud.
Who's the kicker?
He got injured.
Matt Prater.
Prater, they signed on Thursday to play, and that's who played for them this week.
Yep. Matt Prater played for him this week.
Oh, we'll cut that shit out, man.
Hey,
I thought it was Tyler Bass.
Wait, we'll count it down. Yeah, you're right. It was Matt Prater, Kev.
Well, Matt Prater's a good kicker. Matt Prater was a good kicker for the Lions for a long time, and then he went to the Cardinals now.
He was on the Cardinals for a minute.
But before that, wasn't he with the Lions, or am I crazy about that?
Prater was with the Lions. Yeah, he's from UCF, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, I actually did know that. I did know that too. That's so funny. I just assumed it was Bass. So anyway, they got rid of his ass, huh?
I think he just got injured. I don't think they got rid of him.
Really?
And Derrick Henry had that 64-yard touchdown, and after that, their kicker obviously hit one off the upright, which would have made it a 41-41 game looking
Yeah,
back later.
Mhm.
yeah, right.
So that's crazy.
But Tyler Loop, the rookie kicker for the Ravens, who's taking over the massage rapist, job there, Justin Tucker is gone. He had
Is it sad? I'd almost ask you which massage rapist you were
no,
referring
I know
to.
you were gonna say, is it the Watsonator over there in Cleveland with Achilles heels? No. No, but Loop had a 58-yarder, though, I think, to start the game off, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. But he did miss the field goal at the end, or the extra point at the end, which ended up obviously being big.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Those things are you can't do that in the NFL. That's the 1 point was the difference maker. Interesting, we talked about the pick'em last week, and the line was 1.5 points, I think. So I picked the Ravens because I thought they would win the game, like a steal. I didn't want them to win the game, of course, but I got the pick right because the point margin was there, but
So you ended up getting what you wanted. You wanted the
yeah,
Bills to win, they won, and you won the pick'em because it was 1.5, not one.
yeah.
Even
So,
better.
So the Monday night game was the only other game we haven't talked about, which is the Minnesota Vikings leading the fourth quarter comeback to defeat the Chicago Bears 27-24. The only things I like to note on this one are literally just one thing, but in the third quarter, Nashawn Wright had a 74-yard interception return for a touchdown, which in essence stopped history. Because if that pick six didn't happen, it would have been the first time in the history of the NFL that during a 14-game slate that there was not a defensive or special teams touchdown. But that pick six stopped that.
the WWNFL strikes again
Strike zone.
because
So
JJ McCarthy looked horrible. I mean, horrible. It looked like they made a huge mistake until the Vikings got their first third down conversion late in the third quarter of the game.
Well, I have this. Minnesota's offense only had 85 total yards heading into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think I can't remember. I took a picture. Did I text it to you guys? Hold on.
no.
This is interesting. I gotta find it. It had to do with the stats of the game up to that point. Where was
Well,
it?
here I'm willing to admit that when that game, the first drive of that game, I was getting my big bowl of crow ready because I was gonna have to eat it after I dished on the Chicago Bears saying they sucked and they always sucked, and then the the Chicago Bears said, "Hold on there, buddy. We are the Chicago Bears, and we do suck ass. We are horrible, and we're gonna prove it right now." And then I think they had another heart attack on the field. About a baker's dozen of them that night. They blew it again. The Bears just shitting all over the field like always. Even when they have the game in hand, they still blow it.
Yeah. No, here's the picture that I took. The fourth quarter, the Vikings had, and this is with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left in the game. At this point in the fourth quarter, the Vikings had 126 yards. They showed this stat on TV, and it's funny taking a picture of it because it's just Ben Johnson looking absolutely dejected. Okay. The Bears total offensive yards in the fourth quarter, -1 at this point.
Pretty good. I mean, if I shot -1 when I was golfing, I'd be pumped.
So, I mean, of course, after a quarter and the Vikings started figuring it out a little bit, McCarthy started getting the hang of it. And tale of two halves, really a tale of one quarter almost for him. Significantly different play in the second half from the Vikings. And also the Bears. The Bears looked actually pretty damn good in the beginning, and we were all talking to each other about this, and it flipped. It flipped on its head, and that was the ultimate result of the game. It actually was a fun game to watch, unless you're a Bears fan.
For Williams, he came off really hot, and then all of a sudden it's like he couldn't throw an accurate pass whatsoever. He was overthrowing everybody for a while there. It was kind of crazy. The other thing that I have listed here, week one was the most kickoff returns for a week in 15 years.
Well, that's because of the new rules. That's what they adjusted it all for that. All the kickers are kicking like purposely to keep it in play to promote those kickoff
I like
returns.
that. I actually like that.
How many injuries were on the kickoff, though? Didn't we even start the entire season off with an injury on the kick? That was the whole reason for the rule change.
I thought that too, but the biggest thing was they were sprinting down the whole field. Now they don't sprint the full field. So yeah, but I thought that too. I thought it was like, wait, you guys wanted to prevent kickoffs because there are more injuries on kickoffs. Now you want to promote kickoffs. Make up your damn mind, NFLs. Like, what is going on?
So, Kevin, what went wrong for your guillotine team? For those that haven't been paying attention, Kevin's out. He was the first one out after week 1.
I was worried about this because of the history of the Bengals. I had Chase Brown. Also I put a lot of faith into Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, as well as Trey McBride, and all of them did terrible from a perspective of anchoring the majority of my team. Then we did talk a little bit about how the strategy for a 14 team league, I realized it hurt me drafting the way that I did. So where I had to start a second tight end in my flex spot because I didn't really have anyone else. And actually,
0.
you what? Yeah, I got a 0. I got a 0 from Kate Otten. Thanks, buddy. Tight end for the
What
Bucks.
was the rule? What was the rule about a 0 or negative?
Not in that league, bro. Get out of here. It's never established there. But to continue on with that, I don't know how many years it has been, but it's been at least 10 years. You could probably ask Kayla because I complain about this every year. Week 1, inevitably in one of my leagues, a player will get me a 0. And sure enough, it happened again.
I disagree. Ryan Fitzpatrick got you -6 that one year.
Yes, but that wasn't week 1 though, was it?
Yeah, it was.
I do remember that. He threw like 7 interceptions. It was so horrible.
I remember because you didn't really draft the quarterback till super late. You're like, I'll just go with Fitzpatrick.
But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, of course, being Trevor Lawrence let me down big time. He was my quarterback. I could have played Michael Penix Jr., and that might have been the difference maker. I could have probably done that, and it would have been at least close. That's what I would say. But when you put a lot of faith in about 4 players and expect them to carry your team at least to one victory, it just didn't happen. That's where I also my the IDP scoring in that league is kind of
Weird.
not
Wait, it's not
Yeah.
great.
I thought my guy did actually pretty well, and then when I looked at it, I had like 6 points.
Yeah, that's a high score for that week too.
yeah.
6 points for your IDP.
There was a play I had Brian Branch as my IDP who had a pick 6 that was called back, and that probably would have been enough for me to be safe. And so
But it wasn't.
it's just part of fantasy. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to drop you a stinker. I mean, Jamar Chase had a bad week too.
Kevin illustrates why you don't watch your fantasy players. Because if Kevin didn't know that pick 6 was called back, he just saw the stinker of a game that Brian Branch had, he'd be like, oh darn, my guy underperformed. But because he watched his guy get that pick 6 and that penalty called back, this is just what causes so much heartbreak. Oh, it's the worst.
Also,
It's so hard to watch these games now.
yeah, Matthew Golden too was a big letdown when you look at. I just thought he'd be featured more, and it sounds like he was nursing an injury or something, an ankle injury. I don't know. It's very nebulous as far as the reporting on it, but Reed was featured more, Kraft was featured more, and even Dobbs was featured more. I mean, I think he got like 2 or 3 fantasy points. I mean, it must have been on what 3 targets at most.
I don't think anybody had over 3 receptions in that game for Green
Yeah.
Bay receivers.
It's
It was
hard
kind
with
of a-
Green Bay because they
yeah, it
have
was kind of
so many
crazy.
receivers on that team, man. That's why I told you and Mike, Kev, to just get rid of what's his face? Who's the green? Jaden Reed this
Great
week.
man, yeah.
Yeah, and play Booty or play Khalil Shakir over him because, I mean, well, yeah, you guys should have never drafted Hill, but
Speaking of wide receivers that didn't do
Chase
much, so
Brown.
since Worthy got injured, I believe Blake owes an ice.
that's a nice.
He does.
For ice counters for the year, we got 1, and Blake is leading the pack right now.
Ding!
If you're listening,
one.
Blake, we know.
He made up for all the ones he accumulated at the draft party this year. He's over there chugging ices in the middle of a bar. Luckily, you guys know those dudes because otherwise they would have been like trying to usher him out of there for drinking outside beverages in the bar.
No, that's like promoted there. Like they don't care. They love us there. They'll let us do whatever we want.
If everyone could see it,
Almost
Ginger's wearing a Devaney's shirt, so shout out to Devaney's for hosting our draft party. The food was amazing. It was a great time. We had a blast. So definitely look forward to
Fun
doing
time.
that again.
I feel like the next time we go there, they're gonna have those sliders again because he did tell me that was happening.
I keep asking him every time I go back on Tuesdays after our softball game. Like, where's my sliders? He said it was a one-time thing, but damn, those were good.
He said it was a one-time thing, but then he said he ordered some just for us. So
All right, nice.
yeah, so that's coming. Anything else we want to cover fantasy-wise?
We talk about hot waiver pickups this week. None of them are actually hot in most leagues. If they're competitive, a lot of these names are kind of weird. And we've mentioned Kayshawn Booty and Hollywood Brown are probably two of the highest pickups as far as wide receivers go. There was not any catastrophic injuries, like season-ending injuries.
Kittle's out for 4 weeks.
Thankfully, but Kittle's out, so that brings in their tight end situation's weird, and then their quarterbacks, and Brock Purdy's hurt, and they're gonna be starting Mac Jones.
Mac
And
Jones, baby. Oh yeah, I gotta go pick him up in the Superflex league. I totally forgot about that.
yeah, I don't know, maybe he'll be okay. It's interesting. I
I forgot.
dropped the
I forgot their tight end who came in
Tungus or
for the Niners. What was it?
Tungus.
Tungus, yeah.
Yeah, Fungus Boy over there. He so that was his first ever catch in the NFL.
Yeah.
It was a game-winning touchdown.
And the way he came back on that too, because that was a bad ball, and then he went in front of the DB to take that ball away. Like, it was a nice catch.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool story.
My concern is I actually just picked up the 49ers defense this week.
Oh, you're good.
I don't
They're
know,
playing in
bro.
the
I get it, but they're gonna have no offense. I guess there'll be two offensive turds playing against each other.
It's one of my top 3 defenses of the week. Oh, yeah, top 3 would be, I'd say, Rams, Niners, and I'm going Patriots just because the Dolphins suck so hard. And I'm going to pick on them. Cardinals are up there too.
So these are your streamers, top streamers, because I think you could
Yeah, these
argue.
are my streamers. Yeah, obviously, if you have Denver, play them, man. They're like probably gonna be the number one. We're gonna stick with Green Bay with our team. We could recap that league too. That league went great. Could have gone better. We had a good receiver in. He put up a great stat line in Garrett Wilson, and Steve decided to talk me out of him in those starting lineup. Swap him out for Ricky Pearsall. Actually, Ricky Pearsall should have had a touchdown too, and his line would have been just as good, if not better. But I mean, pretty much, Steve,
Listen.
all you had to do is throw it out there, and I was going to take Garrett Wilson out. You guys heard my thoughts on Garrett Wilson. I'm glad to be proven wrong because we got him at a good price in that league, and now we scored the second highest in that league. Somebody else outscored us. There's probably the guy who had Josh Allen, because anybody who had Josh Allen had the high score of the week probably. But that league, we're sitting pretty good in that league. You know what's sad is Jordan Love is just sitting on waivers. It's just crazy.
It's a
Is this a 10
quarterback
team?
league.
Yeah, it's a 10-teamer. I actually didn't even pick anything up. I didn't put a single waiver claim in because he's doing the old waiver system, which I hate. And we're the 10th waiver. And I thought some people would put in waivers. Nobody put in waivers. Nobody even picked up free agents. So I kind of just left it. And I was going to talk to you guys about it. But wait, who do we agree to pick up in that league? I forgot. Yeah, you guys were like between the tight ends or
Tight end situation isn't the strongest. We talked about maybe Juwan Johnson for the.
you do that over like Harold Fannin or
I like Fanning.
Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is available.
I think Pitts will be utilized too. We still have Goddard right on the bench.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't like carrying more than one tight end, let alone 3.
Either.
I don't even want to go pick up a third one.
I would just almost even cut Goddard and pick up someone else,
Oh, I don't know. I'd rather hang on to Goddard. It looks like Njoku is going to be trash this year. I think
which is so.
he's carrying his targets. Yeah, I think Fannin is gonna. I heard a stat about Harold Fannin is like the most catches of like a debuting tight end for the Browns or something.
I think we kind of talked about Booty being the guy that we might pick up.
Is that who we were going with?
I mean, he seems to be the top waiver ad in
There was
our
one
league.
other guy that didn't mention. There was Trey Benson is available, and I know that's not like exciting right now, but our running backs are okay. I think our receivers are pretty solid. And Benson, I mean, let's be real, James Conner.
I love James Conner.
He's not
but
playing a full season.
He's very injury prone, especially he's 29 or 30 years old now at this point. For a
Yeah.
running back, that's like,
Yeah.
unless you're Derrick Henry.
It might be a little early to go after that, but that was another thought I had. But clearly, nobody in that league's even making moves, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I could go pick up like a Booty if that's what you guys want to do. That's fine.
Yeah, if we have the spot, if we have an area, because I assume we put somebody on the
I was
IR.
gonna cut Marvin Mims because
That's fine.
yeah,
I'll
he looks
take
like-
Booty over Mims.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
that, and then
Booty's got the one thing that you look for in fantasy. He's gonna be getting a ton of volume. It's good enough for me. He's a clear-cut number 1 receiver on that team. And even better, this week, they're playing the dumpster fire of the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. He's probably gonna get more targets.
so the most painful part of Booty is in our dynasty league, Nate just went up and picked him up in free agency for nothing on Friday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah?
even realize that he was
Oh,
available.
weird. Yeah, Kev, that's heartbreaking. Did you ever do that with any of my players? Wait, that's right. You're like you're the you're the robot cleaner in Wally who just follows him around. I'm the guy who's making the mess, and you're just cleaning it up.
One man's
Kev
trash.
got Trey McBride for free. You're welcome.
One man's trash.
He already started doing it in Tim's dynasty league too. He's already started picking up my backups in that the guys I just cut in that league. Like Kev can't just leave my guys alone. The fucking dickbag.
They're not your guys. You cut them.
Yeah, if you cut them, they're not yours anymore.
That league brought to you by Tim Miller Mortgaging. If you need a mortgage, please give Mr. Tim Miller a call. It's also what was the website? I forgot the screenshot. I don't know. Sorry. Well, there you go, Tim Miller. I shouted you out.
Nice
Tim
little
Miller
plug.
Mortgaging.
www.timstradessuck.com.
Yeah, it was like I make horribletrades.com. Maybe I can get you a better mortgage. Something like that.
All right, we're kind of running here.
We're running really late. Do you guys want to do the disc golf or no?
We can
Oh
talk.
yeah, we can do that one real quick.
Yeah.
God, dude, I was so pissed about this one, but go ahead, Kevin, you can take it.
You can comment on it. I'll give a quick highlight.
Here, shocker. Let's see if Steve remembers names. We've been saying one name a lot of times. What was his name?
Anyway, real quick, Steve, do you have any thoughts on who might win this tournament?
No, the guy you keep saying is the GOAT.
Name.
No,
Yeah, the GOAT.
No, the GOAT was in the mix though. So really, going into the final day at the Disc Draft Great Lakes Open, also known as D-Glow by the players, was a very tight race. It was 5 players that were within 4 strokes of each other, and actually starting off the final round, the reigning European Open champion Calvin of the field, and immediately started off by dropping a stroke to the person that was right on his heels, which was Gannon Burr. Yeah. And then subsequently showed throughout the round that his putt was extremely off. There was a fair amount of wind. There a lot of putts that were missed quite low. And as the round progressed, he fell out of the running, and then it really became a 2-headed race, with the exception of one player on the chase card. Jake Hemenheimer was putting a little pressure on the lead card.
That's a real name.
A real name, didn't make it up. And ultimately, it came down to Ricky Wysocki and Gannon Burr. And kind of shockingly, Rick made a lot of errors that would have probably won the event. This was the last event of the 2025 season. There is still a couple more events. There's going to be the Tour Championships and what's the one in South Carolina? Why can't the USDGC?
The USDGC, which is that's like the Super Bowl for the players.
So anyway, you have to think that Gannon Burr, who won this event again, had an incredible season. He tied the GOAT Paul McBeth's record for scoring average on the season. It's their player rating, and he had tied the highest scoring average for a player for a year. So it's tied for the highest, and as long as they beat record of this.
Let me give you a stat that normal people can understand. So going into this tournament, Gannon Burr this year has won $118,000 in prize money. The next closest person to him was at 62,000. He had almost doubled the next closest person in prize money. It's kind of crazy, and he's probably more than doubled him at this point after winning this one.
So one last comment about all of this for me is this event is actually, if you go back to 2018, was the first event ever recorded where it was a disc golf professional tour event that a player shot 18 under, and that was Paul McBeth. And he has done it twice, and no player has ever done it other than him.
We'll see how much of that we cut.
Hold on.
All right. Then
Gannon Burr won.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
You could have
Aaron
started with
Burr,
that.
sir. All right, let's move on to the pick'ems. We'll kind of run through these really quick. First thing I'll do is we're just going to talk about 5 of the games. We are doing 15 total this week. I'm just going to kind of read off what we decided just so we have them on record. But Wisconsin versus number 19 Alabama. It looks like both the Rileys are going to go with Wisconsin. I'm going with Alabama. Obviously, this is spread. For that game, for instance, it's a 20.5 point spread. I won't read out the spreads. I'll just kind of go through all the games. For the USC at Purdue, both the Rileys going Purdue. I'm going USC, so we're opposite on that. Number 18 USF at number 5 Miami. We're all going USF. Cleveland Browns at the absolutely we're bullish on that. Cleveland Browns at Baltimore Ravens. We're all doing the Browns. Jacksonville Jaguars at Cincinnati Bengals. We're all doing the Bengals. Giants at Cowboys. 2 of us are doing the Giants. That would be both the Steve R's, and then Kevin's going to do the Cowboys. Seahawks at Steelers. We got all on the Steelers. Broncos at Colts. We're all on the Broncos. Falcons at Vikings. We're all on the Falcons. And then Buccaneers at Texans. We're all on the Bucks. So let's move on to the ones we can talk about. So we'll start in college football. We got Saturday, September 13th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC with Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit on the call. From Neyland Stadium, Knoxville, Tennessee, it's the number 6 Georgia Bulldogs versus the number 15 Tennessee Volunteers. Bulldogs are favored by 4.5. Who you guys got?
Dogs are going to slam this one home. I think Tennessee's overrated. So I still think Georgia's going to be one of the best teams in the country.
I think I picked Tennessee because of the points.
I don't think it's that many points. I think the Dogs can do it. 4.5.
Yeah, it's 4.5. Tennessee does have the second ranked offense in the nation right now.
After
but
2 weeks.
I think I picked Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, they played Syracuse, if that counts.
It
I
doesn't.
think I did pick Tennessee. So, yeah, why not?
Well, hopefully you did. Let's see. Georgia has won 8 straight matchups, all in double digits, all by double digits against Tennessee. And they are 9-0 against the Volunteers under Kirby Smart, so I'll just go Georgia. Let's move on to the next one. Number 16, Texas A&M Aggies at number 8, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That's Saturday, September 13th at approximately 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Broadcast will be on NBC with Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge on the call from Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, Indiana. We got the Irish are a 6.5-point favorite. What say you?
That's a lot of points. And I know it sounds weird, but like seems like every time I pick against an SEC team going against a non-SEC team, I've been wrong so far this year. So I actually went with Texas A&M and the points.
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go with Notre Dame for the simple fact they had an extra week to plan for this game. They've only played 1 game, and it was a loss against Miami. I really think that they're going to have a get-right game, and they're going to come out at home in front of the crowd and put an ass whooping on this team. I think they're going to win by 2 tutties.
Wow, 2 tutties. I don't think they're going to win by 2 tutties, but A&M is 0-7 against the spread in the last 7 games, while Notre Dame is 11-12 in the last 13. That's enough for me. I'll go Irish. All right, so on to our NFL slate. We're going to start with the Thursday game. So that's Thursday, September 11th. That's also tomorrow, technically today, based on the time we're actually doing it.
Never
8:20 p.m. Yep, 8:20 p.m. Eastern on Amazon Prime. Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit on the call from Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Washington Commanders at the Green Bay Packers. This should be an awesome game, by the way. At least I'm expecting a lot out of it. Packers are favored by 3.5. Who do you guys have?
I took the Commanders and the points, I believe. Yeah. I know Green Bay's pretty good, but you know, that's a lot for an NFL game, and Commanders are still a good team, so I went with it.
This game could very easily be determined by a field goal. And so if you're going to give a team, even though they're coming into Green Bay, it's not the time of year necessarily where the weather's going to be the biggest factor. I think both these teams are still in the process of discovering their identities in a way that now that Terry McLaurin's there in Washington, trying to figure out how him and Deebo Samuel are going to exist together. It's a different look than it was last year, right? And so there's still a little bit of figuring out their offense. Jaden Daniels is still playing really well. Not to say that he isn't, but he didn't kind of come out and put out the same type of output that we were used to seeing him last year, and it was really not against a very great team in the Giants, right? I mean, I was expecting them to kind of the score ultimately looks like it, but the game itself was not so obvious that the game was that big of a discrepancy, so to speak.
I think the Giants D is underrated. I think that's why they actually
He's
were
not.
in that game.
Jaden looked bad at times. Like some of his throws were just off.
Yeah, it's again, it's early in
That
this.
could be something too.
Him and Bo Nix are gonna probably have a little bit of a regression. You almost expect it. Sophomore slump. I mean, it's well documented.
Yeah,
Well,
CJ Stroud.
and then the Packers. I don't know. I mean, I think they're the defense there is. We've all talked about it. I think this team's going to be really good. It wouldn't shock me that they win this game. I just like the points, like Steve said with here, how close this game likely will be.
The Packers have such an underrated defense that people aren't really talking about. Like they've had a bunch of first round picks that people viewed as could be busts that especially last week look really gelling together finally, which is going to help out their secondary. I actually think they're going to be able to hold down Jaden Daniels. That's why I'm interested in this game. I actually do think they have such a good defense that it could make Jaden Daniels look bad, but we'll have to see because Jaden Daniels is so good, especially when he gets out on his like when he gets out on the edge and he's able to kind of make those decisions down the field, whether he wants to like pull it and run or if he can actually like, I mean, kind of that Michael Vick, right? That we always talk about, this little flick of the wrist, and it seems like it flies forever for him. That's why I'm so interested in this game. I obviously hope that Michael Parsons plays more than 29 snaps because if he doesn't, then they probably not going to win this game. But I'm going to give the points, and I'm going to go with the Packers on this. So Sunday, September 14th, 4:25 Eastern on Fox. It's the Fox game of the week with Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, your guys' boy, on the call from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. It's the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. A replay of the Super Bowl from last year. The Eagles are a 1.5-point favorite.
What was the final score of that Super Bowl again?
41-22.
Won't be surprised to see a similar score with the Eagles winning again because of how injured and weak the Chiefs look. So I definitely picked for the Eagles to win and cover, which is not even a big spread. I think was it 1.5 or
One and
something?
a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
1.5.
Yeah, Chiefs are gonna start off 0-2. Enough. Yeah, that's about all I can say. The Eagles are probably gonna win this game.
As long as they have a defensive tackle that's not spitting on somebody and getting kicked out before the game starts, I will take the Eagles.
I think they're fine without him.
One caveat here is another underrated defense, shockingly, because Spagnuolo is one of the premier defensive coordinators ever to be part of this game. If there's a guy that can game plan to shorthand that offense of the Eagles, it could be this guy. And so maybe that spread probably makes sense because the game will probably be pretty tight. A field goal, though, determining this game wouldn't shock me, and I still see the Eagles walking away with it.
The Eagles have to get A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith more involved in this game. And as long as they do that, I don't.
Do they though?
Yeah, they have to. I would
I don't
imagine
think they do. That's not their game. Their game is to run the ball, and I don't think they're gonna change from that if they're gonna. That's like how remember how the Chiefs were winning last year. They were winning ugly with defense. That's kind of what you guys are starting to turn into, sadly.
It's kind of weird.
the Cowboys, what they decided to do is they were going to take the way to run. So they brought everybody out, which obviously then gave Jalen Hurts, he was able to do whatever he wanted at that point, and he had open receivers down the field. I just think that that's going to be a similar thing that we're going to see going forward from the Eagles. They're going to be a lot of people putting 8 men in the box, and they're going to say, hey, you're going to have to pass to beat us, which, to be honest, is probably the way that they should probably run it. And if they're going to run it that way, then I need A.J. Brown and I need Devontae Smith to be on their game, making separation, getting there so that Hurts can make those throws.
I mean, I would think that teams know that that's their strength, and you want to try to take that away from them and force Jalen to beat you with his arm. So sometimes you see a really good defensive coordinator exploit these situations, and it almost tips off the rest of the league. We saw this happen years ago with Sean McVay's system when, believe it or not, the Chicago Bears exploited them in the middle of the season. They went on to the Super Bowl that year on the most BS pass interference call that wasn't called against the Saints. They played the New England Patriots, and in film review, they realized a lot of the ticks and similarities of their offense, and they were able to take the highest scoring offense that year and nerfed them to what, 3 points that game?
Yeah, it was one of the most boring Super Bowls in history,
Uh,
too.
I didn't watch it. I went and saw the movie.
Me either.
Glass.
But yes, they only scored 3 points in that game.
We're at like the 100-minute mark. This is like my 10-mile mark. Let's go.
All right, we only have one more game to pick. So Monday, September 15th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Be 7 p.m. for those guys when they're there. But it's on ESPN with Chris Fowler, Louis Riddick, and Dan Orlovsky on the call from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, where the brothers will be in attendance. It's the Los Angeles Chargers against the Las Vegas Raiders. Chargers are 3.5-point favorites. Who do you got?
I wanted to pick the Raiders. I couldn't.
You couldn't?
It's Chargers. They're gonna beat the shit out of us. They look fucking awesome. Justin Herbert looked awesome.
Don't underestimate Geno Smith and what Pete Carroll can do.
It's not that, dude. I said this. As soon as Harbaugh came back to the NFL, give him a couple years, that dude's going to have a really, really good team again. And then he lucked in to getting a really good team already, and then he just made it even better. Like the Chargers, I wish I could change my Super Bowl picks because I would honestly consider putting the Chargers into the Super Bowl at this point because that's how good I think they are right now. They look awesome.
I have a question. You might have to dig a little bit for this. When was the last time the Chargers made it to the Super Bowl?
Oh, it was in the 90s, 96 maybe? 94, I think it was 94. That's when they played San
They lost to
Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the
How
monkey
many
out the
Super Bowls
back
have
thing.
they won?
It was the
None.
Super Bowl that they lost. No, it was right after the San Francisco 49ers beat the Cowboys. We just watched that on America's team. The gambler and his Cowboys.
It was the 94 season. It was the 95 Super Bowl, so January 1995.
No San Diego team has ever won the Super Bowl, but now they're not in San Diego, Kevin.
true.
So
That's true. I said the
Yeah.
Chargers, though, not San Diego.
listen, they got the governor backing them up. Go Chargers, go!
John, go now.
Not the tumor. It's a football.
It's hard to say, despite how good they looked, to say that they're going to be better than the Bills and the Ravens. We'll see, right?
Even the Chiefs, even they beat the Chiefs, but give the Chiefs some time. And usually come around playoff time when the Chiefs most likely are going to be in the playoffs. They're a hard out. They're not going to be an easy out.
It's 1 week, right? So many overreactions occur within 1 week. The 4-week mark is big, right? Because the statistics don't lie about the 4-week mark. About if you start the season off, what is it, 1-3, the chances of making the playoffs are extremely low. So the goal is to start off at least 2-2 if you can.
Well, Chargers are gonna be 2-0 after this week.
Well, I originally had the Chargers picked, and since your conviction is so high, I'm going to flip it just to be contrarian to you. And I'm going
That's
to be
fine.
there cheering on the squad. I'm changing my pick right now. Raiders.
Kev forgets the one stat that's most important about this game. Don Riley
Yeah,
is
this is so true.
0-5 in seeing the Raiders win. He's never seen the Raiders win a football game in the Raiders stadium.
So true.
That is gonna hold up. I'm going to place a big bet on the Chargers to win when I'm in Vegas. I'll tell you that right now. I'll put down like 500 on that shit just because I know it's like guaranteed money.
He's got to be due, though. No, I mean, at some point, it's just.
I thought that last year when we played the
Gold.
Panthers.
That's true. The ultimate Achilles heel is dad.
Dude, I'm like really worried that Dad's gonna go to his grave without seeing us the Raiders win in Vegas.
In person. Yeah.
That would be bad, especially if you own season tickets. I'm taking the Chargers in that game, though, just to put a cap on top of that one.
Because you have a brain. All right.
All right. This has been a pretty long episode. As I said, we're trying some things out. Maybe we won't do the recaps, or maybe we'll just do certain recaps next week, or we'll figure it out as we go forward. Anything you guys want to say to the people before we go?
I would say the wow, okay. I got nothing right now.
Man, Yeah, he really put us on the spot. He doesn't ask us
No,
this
no,
question every week.
I do have something to say. So no, really what I would like to say is the season starting off the way that it has is not unique in many ways, where you have a lot of folks that are immediately high on certain things or down on certain things. Every year it's the same thing. And so I will say, if you're new to fantasy football and you think you got like a terrible team, don't panic yet. It's way too early. And you can always make some moves. If your team is the Browns, then maybe that's a little bit different. They're not going to be good. If you just woke up today and thought maybe something would be different. Same with the Dolphins, but a lot of other teams, minus the Giants and the Cowboys too. Those are all done, but there's a lot of other teams that got potential. So hang in there. It's going to be a crazy season. It always somehow ends up being crazier than you expect it to be. And we're just excited you're here to visit and come along with us.
Thank you, anybody who's listening to us with our stupid takes and our dumb opinions. But don't take any of this to the bank other than that Chargers bet. You will win some good money because Don Riley watching the Chargers is just guaranteed that he will lose that. But yeah, love all you guys listening. Love you two guys to get together and do this. It's fun times. And you know what? Let's have a good season. And we're 1-0 in our team together. So let's keep that rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully keep that rolling. You guys enjoy the trip to Vegas, enjoy the game. Hopefully you do have a victory there, and maybe you lose the pick 'em, but you'll take that over the obviously the alternative, which is losing or seeing Don Riley lose another one. Is your whole family going?
No, it's just me, Kevin, and our dad. And then he's bringing his neighbor friend.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, outside of that, like as we always say, like we enjoyed the feedback. If you guys have any feedback, go ahead and send it to us. We do now have an email address. I'll put that in the description below. So if you guys can want to email us, you can go ahead and do so. If you have any thoughts on things that we should change, or if maybe you have some ideas on what you'd like us to talk about, by all means, go ahead and send us something. And then eventually, if we keep talking about this, we'll get all the social media stuff out there. So for everybody to kind of join in on that.
I have a request as a listener also, because I do listen back to these to try and improve how we can do better. But I do miss already not doing a draft. So we need to do
Okay.
one in at least in the upcoming week
Oh,
or two.
yeah. That was like our
And
thing to start.
I would also say, we've also mentioned it, but we're due to have a not so special guest on the show now that this is our 6th episode, and I feel like we're going pretty strong.
Here, I'll put it out there. Tim Miller, you can be the not so special guest if you help me move next week.
No,
If you're there to help me move, you can be the first official not so. I'll put that out to anybody who's listening right now. If you come help me move into my new house, you can be the first not so special guest onto the podcast.
There you go.
And if it's just Steve, then it's just going to be Steve as the normal guest.
And if you're listening, you don't really know how to get a hold of Mr. Stephen Riley, just go ahead and send us an email to the new email address we have, and we'll be able to get you his address so that you can go and bombard his house with furniture.
Or check that new OnlyFans site that we set up. Or is that just me?
That was just you. Yep.
That was just a 2 bros OnlyFans that I set up? That's why those other 2 random guys showed? Oh, okay.
3 dudes, giant cup.
All right. Thank you for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time.